Welcome to a special video episode of the Duathlon Show, home of all things Run Bike Run on YouTube and in podcast form. My name is Andrew. I work at a running shoe store, and today I will exclusively reveal the most doctor-recommended shoes for running and walking. Bunions, hammer toes, Achilles tendinopathy, plantar fasciitis, wide foot, neuropathy. Listen up, folks. If your feet have needs, pay heed to the words of my screed. Whether you run, walk, or both, these two shoes that I'll mention in this video will take care of your feet and everything up the kinetic chain: ankles, knees, hips, back, etc. The two shoes we'll be talking about today are the Hoka Bondi 9 and the Brooks Ghost Max 3. First, let's get the boring stats out of the way. The Hoka Bondi 9 weighs 10.5 ounces or 297 grams in the men's standard reference size 9. That's 9.3 ounces or 263 grams in the women's size 7. The men's shoe has 43 millimeters of foam in the heel and 38 in the forefoot for a 5 millimeter drop. The women's shoe is 1 mil shorter in both dimensions, retaining the 5 millimeter drop. In the world of running and walking shoes, this is considered a relatively low drop. 10 to 12 mil would be high. And the price for the Bondi 9 is $175 US. And yes, the pronunciation is Bondi, not Bondi. It's named after Bondi Beach in Australia, with the spirit and styling of the shoe apparently taking influence from the beach and its surf culture. Will you feel like you're surfing out there in the Bondi 9s? Make sure to stick around to the end of the video to find out. Those of you who need lots of lateral stability will be keen to find out if the Bondi is sufficient in that department. Now to the Brooks Ghost Max 3. This shoe tips the scales at 10.8 ounces or 306 grams for a US men's size 9, 9.7 ounces or 275 grams for a women's 7. The midsole height is 39 millimeter in the heel, 33 millimeter in the forefoot for a 6 mil drop, and the price is $160 US. Biggest differentiator in the basic stats would have to be price. A $15 difference in favor of the Brooks model. The weights differ by a measly 10 or so grams, the drops are only off by 1 mil, and they both carry an XL size slab of foam underneath. Diving into the Bondi, it's difficult to overstate the impact that this shoe model and this brand has had in the sneaker world since the release of the original back in 2011. Quoting the Hoka website, "At the height of the minimalist movement, it was an unapologetically oversized, maximally cushioned shoe that was extremely lightweight. It was new. It was different. It was an outlier. But that was exactly what runners were looking for, something to push the limits, challenge the status quo, and shake things up." End quote. And shake things up they did, those rebels at early Hoka. The original Hoka Bondi B had a stack height of 35 mil in the heel and 30.5 mil in the forefoot. Back then, runners were falling out of their chairs, thunderstruck with amazement, bowled over by the comically large amount of foam in that shoe. The minimalist running shoes dominating the market of the day were clocking in somewhere around 3 to 13 millimeter in the heel. Today, the Bondi 9 is 43 millimeters tall, and the Hoka Mach 6 is seen as the more minimal, low-to-the-ground option at 37 mils. If you're enjoying this video, please leave a comment and then subscribe to the channel. The YouTube algorithm gets a warm, fuzzy feeling when you leave a comment, and so do I, so thank you in advance. Turning to the history of Brooks, they were founded way back in 1914 and made all types of athletic and non-athletic footwear, skates, baseball cleats, ballet shoes, basically anything but running shoes up until 1972. In 72, they moved into running for the first time, and in 2001, the brand committed to running shoes exclusively. In 06, they were acquired by Berkshire Hathaway and remain part of the conglomerate long headed by famous investor Warren Buffett. Hoka was the innovator in the market, driving us towards where we are today, deep in the thick of the max cushion era. But Brooks was quick on their feet and kept the old Dylan adage in mind: you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. They joined the max stack trend and have since sold millions of shoes to walkers and runners around the world who, like me, enjoy a good wodge of foam underfoot. Taking a look at the shoes side by side, we can see the Hoka model on the right showing its slight edge in height. But make no mistake, the Brooks has a megawatts of foam as well. Many folks have never owned shoes this high and might have apprehensions about walking in something this tall. Don't worry. Remember that we're talking about the two most doctor-recommended shoes here. They aren't so big as to cause injury in the vast majority of users. Marathoners go for high-mileage runs in shoes like these and do not trip over foot. So they're definitely acceptable for the everyday walker and those with many types of foot issues. Everyone's foot is different, so your mileage may vary, but I, as a running store employee and doctors with their fancy qualifications, are constantly recommending both these models. Visit your local shoe store and try one on if you aren't sure. Looking at these two size 11s from behind, not only does the Hoka Bondi 9 have more foam, but its heel collar also rises higher than the Ghost Max 3. Both shoes are thick and plush in the tongue and heel collar. The Brooks tongue is slightly softer. Neither has a gusseted tongue. The Brooks has a wider toe box. The toe box in the regular width Ghost Max is as wide as any wide option from most brands. That being said, both shoes are available in wide options. The Ghost Max 3 has a super wide platform underfoot. The width of this shoe at the toe, waist, and heel is prodigious. It's not a stability shoe, which most people understand to mean a shoe which corrects overpronation, but it is a super stable shoe, good for people who overpronate, oversupinate, or have a neutral stride. The broad base and geometry of the shoe just seems to align with a lot of people's strides. Folks with varying gaits all seem to love this shoe. It receives praise even from people who don't buy it. The Ghost Max has 39mm of foam underfoot, but it's not actually super soft, believe it or not. Compared to Keds or dress shoes, yes, this will feel ultra comfy, but in the year 2025 in the running and walking shoe world, these do count as mildly firm. The thick stack of foam will ensure you're highly protected from impact, but you won't be sinking in too deeply. The DNA Loft V3 foam from Brooks is a supercritical material. That means the foam has been, quote, infused with nitrogen through a special supercritical foaming process that heats the liquid nitrogen until it turns to gas, end quote. The supercritical process is intended to increase softness, decrease weight, and improve energy return of the foam. The brand new Brooks Adrenaline GTS 25 features the same foam, and walking in them side by side, you can certainly feel the same softness. Running in the Ghost Max 3, you'll feel more bounce than in the Adrenaline 25, but now we're getting into a different type of review here, so I'll cut the cord on this digression. The Hoka Bondi 9 builds on the proud tradition of its name by whomping us with a walloping wad of 43mm of supercritical EVA underfoot. Both shoes feature good old-fashioned ethylene vinyl acetate, first introduced to the running world in 1975 by none other than Brooks with the Villanova. But the gas process certainly makes these shoes softer than previous generations of running shoes. The Bondi 9 is very soft. It is softer than the Hoka Clifton 10, which doesn't feature supercritical foam. There's a satisfying rocker geometry underfoot, which rolls the foot forward during the running or walking gait. If you do not favor this rocker feeling, go with the Brooks. It has a milder forefoot rocker and much less dramatic heel bevel. Don't think the rockered midsole sacrifices stability, however. These are doctor recommended for a reason. They do well as a daily walking and standing shoe. The Hoka Bondi has been known as the official unofficial nurse's shoe. It feels like every third healthcare professional you see working in a hospital will be wearing these shoes. The foam in the Bondi 9 is actually the same compound found in the peppy, up-tempo Hoka Mach 6 trainer. That's Hoka taking the Bondi seriously as a running shoe, not just a stander and walker. They gave it better foam than the lower stacked Clifton. Learning that actually made me rethink my opinions on the Mach. Why shouldn't it be as good an option for those with foot pain or special health considerations sensations as the Bondi? Well, I put both on side by side and tested that theory out. The Bondi turns out to have better lateral stability than the Mach. Moving left and right is slightly more precarious in the Mach 6. Not so much that I wouldn't recommend it to a walker or someone who requires a stable platform, however. But there's a lot of reasons why the Bondi is so highly doctor recommended, and its underfoot lateral stability is one. It's not a stability or motion control shoe in the sense that it's specifically designed to correct overpronation, but the geometry of the midsole and platform makes it good for anyone seeking to avoid the odd wobble, despite the large stack height. Wide platform neutral or stable neutral are good descriptors. The foam sidewalls actually rise up beyond the height of the footbed. This cradles the heel and provides that extra bit of left-right stability. And I don't typically notice arch profiles in shoes. My arches are so high, I think they simply skip the sock liner sometimes, but multiple reviewers have noted that the Bondi has good arch support. This can make it a good shoe for those with tendinopathy or plantar fasciitis. How does the ride compare between these two shoes? Earlier I told you that the Ghost Max felt mildly firm. The Bondi is definitely softer than the Ghost Max, but I wouldn't call it Charmin Ultra Soft. New Balance's 1080 V14 and Asics's Nimbus 27 are both softer. YouTuber and shoe review legend Ben Parks called it firm as opposed to soft and marshmallowy. Mile Masher Joanna over at Supwell ranked 29 Max cushion shoes from softest to firmest. The Bondi 9 was 23rd softest and the Ghost Max 3 was 25th. It's precisely that combo of max cushion underfoot without excess softness or wobble that makes both these shoes so suited for podiatrist patients, for example. In the Bondi, we can talk about two types of softness. First, there is standing, toe-dig-in sensation softness, also known as stand and bounce up and down softness. Contrast that with running stride softness. The Bondi gets softer and bouncier in the running stride versus the walking cycle. That's the supercritical foam coming into play. The run sensation in the Ghost Max 3 has the same impact protection with its mega high stack, but less softness, bounce, and roll than the Bondi. Hoka as a brand has definitely leaned in, pun intended, to midsole rocker geometry across the board. The Bondi 9 is no exception, featuring forefoot and heel bevels which impart the famous rolling feel to the running and walking gait. Rocker geometry can reduce stress on the body and promote a smooth, natural footfall. The barefoot human heel is beveled, a shape reproduced by the Bondi. There is much less of this rocker geometry in the Brooks. The Ghost Max 3 will give you more roll compared to shoes with a perfectly flat outsole, like Converse's, but much less compared to the Hoka's. The rocker versus non-rocker sensation is the number one differentiator for many people when choosing between the two shoes. Second to that would probably be the $15 price difference. I lied. Color is always the number one differentiator between people trying to decide between two pairs of shoes. Humans are vain creatures. Sometimes our eyes trick us into buying shoes our feet would rather us not. Luckily, both shoes come in a variety of colors, including all black and black on white, for those of us who want or require neutral colors for style or work. For me, the Bondi gets the slight edge in terms of styling, purely subjective, but I like the sculpting in the lines of the Bondi over the Ghost Max. The Hoka model really hits the mark when it comes to contemporary dad shoe aesthetics. For me, that's a plus. The Bondi even comes in a slip-resistant version for restaurant workers or anyone else working in a wet environment. Don't run in the SR version though. The full rubber outsole will only get beat up and worn down by the asphalt. Final verdict? If I had to spend my money on either of these, I'd go with the Hoka Bondi 9 because I think it has more oomph on the run and I like the rocker feeling. For walking and standing, I think they're both equally good. You can't go wrong with either of these shoes. If you liked this content, and I hope you did because you stuck around to the end of the video, please leave a like and a comment on the video, and of course make sure you're subscribed. Engaging with the video via likes and comments helps get the word out to others like you who might enjoy videos like this. After that, for more fine Run Bike Run content, be sure to check out the Duathlon Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever pods are casted.